What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Thanks for coming back for yet another week. So it's wintertime pretty much, and as you guys know, I kind of struggle for content in the winter. You know, how can I keep putting out videos that you guys will want to watch and that you'll enjoy and that'll be helpful to you, even though the lawns are not really growing? But speaking of lawns not growing, let's take a look. She is looking gorge. So this is 9 days of growth, I think. No, 7 days of growth. Yeah, 7 days. Days all run together. But she's looking good, you know. This is, you know, that time of year when things will go back and forth, you know, kind of slow, super slow, and then we get days in the 80s and it speeds up. Oh, I gotta do some pruning. A couple of you guys had asked me about these. These were broken off in the hurricane, and they look like crap when they just hang flat. You can see a couple on that one over there. They look like natty dreadlocks or something, but you're supposed to leave them on because as long as they're green, they're still, you know, able to do photosynthesis and all that kind of dealio, up and down movement. So, and technically, just so you know, palm trees are not trees, they're actually a grass. Completely different structure. But anyway, you're supposed to leave them on until they're green, but these are starting to turn brown, so these will have to come off probably in another few days or so. Anyway, it's pretty windy out here today, so it gives me a chance to actually do some maintenance that I need to do on the mower anyway. As you guys know, I got my TimeMaster now. And I've got just enough hours on it that it needs its initial oil change. And then on top of that, I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick SeaFoam treatment on it just to make sure everything gets all cleaned out nice. All right, so before we get started, let me just say, you guys up north, when you kind of winterize technically, you're gonna do things a little bit different here. So a couple things to just realize. First of all, the oil change that we're gonna do here, that's pretty standard on any TimeMaster, so that'll apply to all of you guys. Now, as far as further from that, if you're up north, this is not what you do before winter. I mean, you could do this, but you have to do another step or two after. And I would probably recommend that you do this in spring, actually. So if you're looking for more of a good how to winterize for up north and what to put into your fuel to stabilize it, I'm gonna link below to Stan's channel. He's the Dirt Monkey. He just did a really good video. Actually taught me a lot of things that I'd never heard before. So pretty cool there. I'll link to that. Now, with that though, here in Florida, since we are pretty much year round, this is kind of my winterization. If this mower was older, I'd be doing some other things, probably changing a fuel filter, looking at the air cleaner, stuff like that, but it's still pretty new. So we're just gonna do a basic oil change, and then we're gonna do the cleaning with the SeaFoam. Now the SeaFoam treatment, again, you guys should do in probably late spring sometime, run this through, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. Now again, here in Florida though, we don't really ever stop mowing, and so I don't have a need to technically winterize my equipment. However, winter is when I slow down, so it typically just is like a reminder, because I have a little extra time, to go ahead and change the oil in most of my mowers, which I'll be doing later. Again, this one is just at its, you know, first change, 5 hours recommended change, so it's there anyway. But then at that same time, I also go ahead and just do a quick SeaFoam run through of the engine just to clean everything out. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we get there. All right, so the first thing you're gonna need is obviously a lawnmower, which I have, and then this stuff here. So gonna need your chosen motor oil. I use Mobil 1 synthetic 10W30. Now there's a bazillion people that can argue with me about that. Should I be using straight 30 weight? Blah, 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 blah. All right, so a couple things here before we go getting too crazy. I use Mobil 1 10W30 synthetic, full synthetic. I'm not an oil expert, anything like that. I realize that a lot of you wanna use a straight 30 weight because that's what the manuals recommend. Please do that. This is not a video to get in an argument about what the best oil is for your small engine. I use Mobil 1 synthetic here, 10W30, because the best True Green mechanic I ever knew, his name was Danny, swore by it in all of our small engines, from our ride-on spreaders to our aerators. Pretty much anything that we used that needed to have oil changed, we used 10W30 Mobil 1 synthetic. And that was up in a cold climate where stuff did have to sit over the winter. This here still works just as well down here in Florida in a super hot climate. So again, I'm not here to argue with about motor oil. I'm sure there's some very intelligent people that leave their comments below, of course, and you can read those too. Of course, you'll need your gloves. If you're a YouTuber, an extra camera is always nice. Whatever your chosen way to hold your oil is. This is new to me because I left my last one at the other house behind my shed half full of oil. That's what you do when you move. You leave the new owner your old oil. It's just a good thing to do. Anyway, so I had to get a new one of these. I just typically get a pan that can hold quite a bit of oil because, you know, I have other mowers that don't need to be changed or whatever, and I like this to build up before I take it to the recycling place. Of course, you'll need a funnel. This is not in any kind of order. SeaFoam. This is the actual, this is the one that goes into the fuel. This is the fuel treatment side. And then the spray, I think they're both the same though. This is just comes with a different nozzle on the top, but either way, a spray and a fuel additive SeaFoam. something to put down to protect your driveway, and of course plenty of rags. The other thing is, if you can, get 2 bricks or 2 paver stones. These are a couple inches thick, and I'll explain in a minute why we want those. All right, the wind's starting to blow, which is gonna really ruin this, so I'm gonna go ahead and just switch to the GoPro and kind of narrate over the top or use words or whatever, put in some editing, because I mean, this is not the most difficult thing in the world, but I wanna show you how it's done here on the TimeMaster. And again, this is the recommended 5-hour initial oil change. They recommend that because I guess there can be all kind of junk in there or whatever. That first 5 hours gets all that washed out, and then you can go ahead and dump it out of there. That way none of that debris remains. Additionally, when you do your oil change, you want the motor to be a little bit warm, because I guess that makes the oil flow better. Obviously it makes sense, right? When it's hot, it's gonna flow out better, but it's also gonna pull more of the debris and other junk that could be in there. It'll pull it out. That's according to the owner's manual. All right, before you go too crazy, you wanna make sure there's not too much gas in there. Now that's hard to really tell. Based on the way that this goes. I know a lot of people complain about that sponge that's in there, but you can kind of shake it around and see. Another thing I like to do before we go getting too crazy is just give her a wipe off, get the dust off. You know, you're going to be opening up the oil system here, and you know, you just don't want any dust in that. So same when you do the SeaFoam, we're going to be opening up the system. So if we can just get the dust off of this, it can, you know, just be a little extra help to you. And of course, it's always fun to polish your deck on a Saturday morning. All right, so if the wind will cooperate, quickly. The biggest mistake I see people making when they go to change the oil here, because there's no drain plug, so you literally have to tip the mower. What they do is they don't map it out first. They put everything in place and they just tip it, and then they realize, whoa, stuff's in the wrong place. They just throw it in there, and then they go to tip it. Right, trying to do this with one hand is not very easy, but then they go to tip it. They go to tip it, and this is in the way, blah, 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 whatever, right? So let's just do a little planning, pre-planning, you know, and save ourselves a little bit of a headache. So the other thing, I'm gonna show you what those 2 bricks are for. So the first thing you'll see is I did raise the handle into the upright position here. Now I'm going ahead and just tipping it down, and this is the oil fill right there. That's what we need to drain out of. Is that. So that's going to come down, right? And this is where I said, see how that's hitting right there? That's not going to work. When I've got oil coming out of here, I can't have it hitting there, right? So we need to pre-plan. So we need to kind of position this so that it'll be out of the way of everything, and it'll still be able to catch. See that? So we can kind of pre-plan our fall, right? So that everything kind of lines up like we want it to. Throw her down! Let's hope for the best! Now, the other thing is, we're gonna think about it. We're trying to drain oil out of this. So we want to get it as tipped back as far as we can. So think about this. My driveway and your driveway probably has a natural slope down that way. So I want to go ahead and tilt the mower that way too, to get that extra usage out of that extra little degree of slope there, just to help drain out some more oil. But there's another thing that you can do to hedge your bets even further, and that's jack it up higher. And what you do there is you jack these wheels a couple inches higher off the ground, and it just gives you that much more ability to torque over, so you can pour more of the oil out. And then the last tip, and you're probably already going to be there, but again, think about it. We're just trying to get more torque over, right? Is to raise the wheels all the way up. That'll also give you a little bit higher up and a little bit more torque over. So now we're going to go ahead and test it. Now the other thing is, I told you my driveway slopes back that way, right? If my driveway slopes back that way, that means I want the oil to drain that way probably too. So I'm going to flip this around, take the cap off, make sure this is tight here, set, vents open. All right, now we can line her up, get it on just perfect. Here we go, another test pull. Okay, so it looks like right there is going to be optimal. So that should drop the oil right there, and that should flow it down into the holes there. That's the hope. The last thing is you want to protect your baby here on the driveway, so that's another reason for a lawn journal. Makes a good protector when you layer down. Remember, you want to layer down on a bed of roses. All my pre-planning is good. I got her mapped out. I've way over complicated this, which was my original goal. So now let's go ahead and tilt it up and do the real work. Just in case it comes off, I'll know where it goes, you know? Ready with our rags. Now there's going to be some movement in this, watch. So that's why I marked that. See, I marked it where it goes, because watch, I'm going to have to move it. Go ahead and give her a few taps here and there. Yeah, give her a few tilts and taps. Look at that. Get it all out of there. She likes to be tilted and tapped. Here's something we learned. Got this at an auto parts store, and automotive oil funnels are too big. They're way too big in the shaft. See that? Won't fit. So I just cleaned this one, and this one is more her size. Yeah, she likes that. All right. Okay, next. I read the manual, and this mower takes 20 ounces of oil. 20 ounces of oil, okay? That's like 0.62 of a quart, but you can't really do that. But on the side, as you know, there are measurements here. See these? 32. This is 32 ounces, right? We need 20, so that means when we're done, we're at 12. And you can see I marked it even for myself. So that way when I'm out here in the sunlight for a long time, I don't forget. So again, this is 32 ounces. The manual says the mower takes 20 ounces of oil. So that means that this should be down to 12. Now, we're not going to fill it all the way down, though, because there's still some oil remaining in there. No matter how, well you did, there's still some in there. So we're going to take it down to a little bit above, and then we're going to dipstick it. And then if we need to add some, we will. Alright, so while I'm waiting for that to settle again so I can check it, let's talk about the SeaFoam here. So the first thing I do is I've got 1 gallon of gas here. Now I run non-ethanol exclusively. I used to not do that up north because it just wasn't readily available, but I live here where there's tons of boaters and they all run non-ethanol. So this is really readily available to me. I get it at Wawa. So there's 1 gallon in here. Now I do not run SeaFoam treatment year round. I do it once or twice a year. So I'm going to go ahead and treat this entire gallon with SeaFoam, and the recommended dose here is, I believe, 1 ounce per gallon. The other thing is some people will add it straight into the gas tank. That's okay, you can do that because it doesn't necessarily need to mix with the gas, it just needs to get into the engine, but we're empty, so I'm going to go ahead and treat it in there and then put that gas in there and I'll be all good. It's perfectly okay to eyeball this, okay? You can't overdo it. I mean, don't go nuts with it because it gets expensive, but it's okay to eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. that's better. Okay, so after that last kill off, you let it sit for 10 minutes. They call that a hot soak. And then you want to go ahead and get it under load and run it. So I'm going to go ahead and enjoy my mow, because that's how I'm going to get it under load and run it.